Hello, my name is William. For as long back as I can remember, I have this strange feeling that someone is stalking me. But the last few months the feeling had gotten much stronger. Strong enough that wherever I go, whatever I am doing, I can expect to see a shadow. It's like a silhouette. I can't make out no features. It is ruining everything I love to do. I love cycling for miles and miles, but even if I'm cycling on a bike, I can feel the shadow behind me, and even a lot of times, see it. I felt like I was going crazy. One night I was kissing my girlfriend, and that damn shadow showed up, and I got a start and jumped, frightening my girlfriend. She must have thought I was so weird, and I couldn't explain it to her. How is she going to feel about me? I say, oh, by the way, a lot of the time I see a shadow chasing me. That is a sure and fast track way of making her my ex. One day I couldn't take it anymore, so I went to see a doctor who was able to help me find out what the hell was going on with me. The doctor said, "Hello, William. My name is Dr. Frederick Stone. I am going to try to help you get to the bottom of what is bothering you by using a method called regression hypnosis. Some doctors claim to go back so far in a person's life that they may even uncover things about any past lives they might have had. But I'm sure we won't have to go back that long. You see, William, what I feel like is happening you, from what you told me over the phone, is you are suppressing memories that cause you pain, but sometimes those memories are coming to the surface in the shape of a shadow that you imagine. It is your subconscious telling you there is a problem that you're trying to forget. After a few minutes I was in a hypnotic state, and I could see myself back in my house in a dark room with my twin brother. We were only kids and we were playing murder in the dark. It was a game that you had to search around the dark and touch someone to kill them. That's only in the game, of course. That's how I can remember playing it anyway. I pushed my twin brother too much and didn't realise there was something in front of him to trip him, and he fell down on the ground and banged his head. I could just hear the bang, but didn't realise what had happened until I put the light on and saw my twin brother lying in a pool of blood. And he was really dead. It all came flooding back to me now, and I woke up in the doctor's office with my blood thumping in my ears. I now know that it was not my imagination when I saw my doctor give a strange look behind me, and I turned around and saw the silhouette behind me, and knew my doctor saw it too. The difference is now I know that that silhouette is the ghost of my dead twin brother. Sam was on social media for a few years now, but didn't get half of the views he would have liked. He decided to hatch a plan to gain loads of followers and viewers. His plan consisted of him driving a taxi that he usually does, but something different for a live stream. He rigged the taxi with lots of cameras to film his customers. He had something very different planned for them. That difference was that he would have a needle in the back seat full of poison, and each customer who gets in would be killed from the poison going into their back. The needle tips were spread all over the back, so no matter where they would sit, they would get jabbed. He murdered about 10 people when his live stream went up to about 100,000 views. The local sheriff of Sam's town got tipped off after the 5th person was killed, so he was tracking the car by people giving tips of what was in the background of the live stream, giving away where it was originating from, even though Sam was constantly on the move apart from stopping for customers. The viewers helping the police eventually knew Sam seemed to be driving to his house. A while later there was a SWAT team outside Sam's house, and they knew from the live stream he was in the garage. He could see he was holding a gun up to people, and the SWAT team broke the garage door down and shouted, "Stop!" Sam jumped with fright, and one of the police officers' guns went off and shot Sam between the eyes. Then 10 of his victims came out shouting and screaming. The detective was relieved the poison in the needle didn't kill them, but must have just put them to sleep. Then things got worse than he could ever have imagined. When one of the people said, "Oh my God, why did you shoot Sam? We are all actors. This has all been a stunt. None of us were killed. Those needles were just rubber. They weren't real needles. We were just helping Sam stage a fake, crazy live stream of him killing people." The sheriff checked Sam's pulse. He was dead, and they realized he was guilty of staging a fake mass murder spree. There is a Japanese urban legend called the cowhead story. The name might sound kind of strange or even funny, but the urban legend has a very sinister background story. The most sinister thing about the story is that the story is so scary and so haunted that no one can ever tell it without dying. The legend talks about the story, which is basically a group of students, one by one, that notice that their teacher is becoming more and more involved in the story and living it. After a while, the students are screaming for him to stop. The worst thing is, he can't. A while later, police find the bus in a ditch, which is all of the passengers foaming at the mouth, and legend has it they were in some sort of trance. The police shook them awake, and when the police asked them what happened, no one could remember how they ended up there. The cowhead story has no recollection of it. Some theories might pop up every so often, but maybe there are no solid conclusions because of the one thing that might stop people from telling the story, and that is the story is so scary and so haunted that no one can ever tell it without dying. I didn't want to say this, and I'm not using my face just in case. I might get haunted by whatever legend it is. But when I first told the story of it, there was some weird kind of old video popped up when I was animating it as if mocking me. It was my voice speaking, saying, "You won't be able to put this on, but I will put it on YouTube for you." I was wondering what it is, and what it was. It kinda creeped me out. It was almost as if it happened because I was telling you the story. I felt like, and I still feel like, even after me deleting it, that I am haunted now. What? Joshua was an elderly farmer who was living in rural Ireland. He was feeling very isolated on the farm since his only daughter moved to America, where she was working in a rest home in Texas. One day he had an idea while walking around his farm. He had noticed really nice wood to use to carve walking sticks to make and send to his daughter as a surprise. The only problem was that where the wood was, it was a fairy fort. Legend had it that folk tales associated with fairy forts typically relate a curse or retribution enacted upon those who would disturb or destroy the structures. As he carved the wood into the sticks, he prayed that nothing would happen him doing so. After he had about 20 sticks made, he sent them over to his daughter as a gift. His daughter Sharon was working in a rest home, but lost her job 6 months ago, but didn't want to tell her dad. She had a problem with drugs that was spiraling more and more out of control. She was popping the strongest painkillers and also using crystal meth. She didn't want to tell her dad how much of a mess her life was in. She sat down in her trailer, worrying about paying back a loan shark $10,000 that she got off him for a loan. She got the loan to pay off a local drug dealer that she knew didn't mess around. If she hadn't gotten the money, she would have been killed, and if she can't pay back the loan shark, she knew she would be killed also. But she thanked God she was able to get a loan of $10,000 to get the drug dealer off her back at least. One day her dad's walking sticks arrived, and she felt a pang of guilt and pain that he went through all that trouble of carving walking sticks for the residents of the rest home he thought she still was working in. She had put the $10,000 in the bank for safekeeping until the drug dealer called for it in a few days, as it was way too dangerous around her neck of the woods to keep that much cash in her trailer. She wrote out a check and sent it to her dad. Her dad was delighted to cash the check for $10,000. He rang her to thank her, and she froze and then said, "Dad, I am so sorry, that check was meant to have been for $10, not $10,000. Then the man that was looking at Joshua counting the money behind him ran up and hit him in the head and grabbed his wallet. He saw him put all the money in. That night the drug dealer arrived, and Susan told him the story. The drug dealer started laughing and said, "Do you think I'm stupid? You just ran out of chances, bitch." Then he shot Susan dead. Joshua found out about her death a few days later and regretted ever stepping foot inside the fairy fort, knowing it was the fairy fort that made everything go wrong. Sharon was walking down the street, sure that someone was following her. She didn't dare look behind, as she would rather just walk on and hopefully get to somewhere where there were people around, other than turn around and have someone attack her. It was getting dark, and she saw a train station across the road, so she walked across to it. When she got into the station, thankfully there were other people in the platform, but strangely, she didn't feel any bit safer. She thought about getting on a train, but decided to just wait by a group of people first to gather herself. She assumed it was just her paranoia, but there was something bothering her that she didn't know what it was. People were acting strange, and she had noticed there were police around. She had wondered why there was no train, as she was standing there for a few minutes now. There were lots of people looking down in the track, across a tape that said police line "Do not cross." She didn't realize sooner because she seemed to be in a daze, wondering why she was feeling so strange. She wondered what all the people were looking at, and when she walked over and looked down, she screamed with horror as she looked down at herself, dead on the train line. She was screaming and screaming, but no one seemed to take any notice of her. She had then noticed someone had made eye contact with her, and they seemed to notice her. They walked over to her and said, "Did you just realize you're like me, one of the dead?" She spoke on. "Don't worry, it gets better. I watch the news to see where there are local deaths. That way at least you could talk to someone." Sharon froze, taking in the words that the girl was telling her, realizing she was dead. Hi, my name is Siobhan. I was really stressed lately and needed a break away, so decided to pack up work for a week and book myself into a lovely looking hotel in a really nice resort in Florida. Judging by the photos online of it, the place was exactly what I needed. I just needed to get away from everything for a few days, so hopefully a week would do the job. When I had all my luggage packed, I got the cab to the airport and was on my way to Florida. I was so happy knowing I would spend the next week away from all the stress of everything that was going on lately. I was very confident I would feel so much better after the break. When I arrived, I checked in and got the elevator up to my room, left my baggage and headed straight for the beach. It was so relaxing just lying down on the beach, with the air blowing in my face. I felt like I was just about to feel the benefits of what I'd feel spending a whole week in this beautiful resort. That night I was in the hotel's bar, and I was feeling kind of fed up, thinking that in a week I'd be back to my ordinary life and the troubles and stress will be waiting right for me. But I knew I just had to make the most of being here. Suddenly a guy walked up to me in the bar and said to me, "Hello, I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but I just saw you sitting there and you looked kind of lonely and a bit fed up, to be honest, and I was wondering, would you like some company?" I looked strangely at first, wondering, did I really look that fed up? And then I replied, "Well, sure, thanks. I guess I'd enjoy some company." The man asked, "So, where are you from?" I told him I was from New York and decided I needed to have a break away from the stress in the Big Apple. He smiled and said, "Do you know something? That makes a lot of sense to me, and trust me, this place is like a paradise. If you like, I can show you around sometime." I smiled and said, "Sure, that sounds like fun." Then the man said, "Oh, by the way, pardon my manners, I didn't even ask your name. My name is Sam. What's yours?" "My name is Siobhan. Nice to meet you, Sam." The next day, I was relaxing on the beach with Sam. He spoke. "To be honest, when I saw you alone and looking kind of down, I had to come and say hello." I looked confused and asked him why. He replied, "A few weeks ago there was this beautiful girl who was sitting by herself in the bar, just like you were, and well, she looked to be upset over something. I was going to introduce myself and ask her would she like company, but I didn't. And well, the next day I found out she was after committing suicide by jumping off her room's balcony. I felt so sorry for the girl and told Sam that there was no way of him knowing she was so upset and was going to commit suicide. That night me and Sam were in the bar having a few drinks and speaking. I wondered would it be too soon. When we were in my room, we sat on the bed and had another drink. Sam stood up and said to me, "Do you know what I love most about this hotel? The beautiful view from the balcony." We both walked out to the balcony and were admiring the view. I said to him, "It's beautiful." Suddenly Sam put his hand on my back and was about to push me over when I took my taser out of my pocket and tasered him. He jumped back, feeling surprised I was ready for him. Then I said, "That girl you were telling me committed suicide. We both know that she didn't jump." Then I held my phone up and showed him a picture that was taken of him without his knowledge, with text underneath it saying, "Help, call the police, this man is going to kill me." I called the hotel and asked for my friend Lisa, who you pushed, but when they had sadly confirmed to me she had committed suicide, then I had an expert in facial recognition do a background check on you, and boy was I happy to know that you were working in this hotel. I knew the police would let you off, so I have my own idea of justice. Also, thanks so much for letting me know what type of lunatic you are by wanting to push me off the balcony also. But I'd just like to know why. Why would you want to kill an innocent woman after just killing an innocent woman just a few weeks ago? With that, the door was knocked open, and I heard police shout, "Stop, police!" They walked over to me, and they couldn't even see the damn man lying on the ground. I was cursing this hotel's CCTV footage for picking up my face and letting them finally see me when they were looking for me for months. And I was wondering why, because I knew I was on the run, but didn't know why. It was months later I had learned there was no man. I suffer from a condition called dissociative disorder, which means I was the man, but there was never a man, and it was me who killed my friend. Dave was walking through the woods at 10 p.m. when he thought he heard a noise in the bushes. He looked around and saw no one, but he sensed there was someone watching him. He never walked into the woods more than a mile, because everyone that knew the woods knew that it could take hours, if not days, to find your way out the further you went in. It was like a maze after a while. He continued to walk on when suddenly two people in black jumped out of the bushes in front of him and held a gun to his head. They said, "Don't move and you won't get hurt. Me and my friend here have a little game we like to play. It's called The Hunt. You, my friend, will be human prey. We are going to give you a head start of 10 minutes. And me and my friend here are going to hunt you down. And if we find you before midnight, then we will shoot you, of course, and you will be dead. But just for the slightest chance of you surviving past midnight or escaping these woods, then you are free to go. Even if we spot you after midnight, you will be free to go. You will have your freedom." Dave was shocked at what the man just said and was about to walk back from the woods so he could leave, but the man said, "Do you think we are stupid? You are not allowed to go that way. You're only meant to go deep into the woods, and don't think about coming back. We have dozens of more people on the lookout in case you decide to leave the easy way. But don't worry, it's just me and Bert here who will be hunting you down when you go that way deep into the woods. You ready to go, boy?" Dave said, "I'll go, but please don't kill me," and Dave ran and ran. 10 minutes later, the men followed him. Dave luckily knew of a great hiding spot that hardly no one knew except himself and his son, who unfortunately was murdered just a few weeks ago. Dave hid in a small little cave that was hidden by trees that he hoped the men didn't know of. Luckily, Dave spent most of the time there, and when he got out at 2 minutes to midnight, he exited the cave to be greeted by the two men holding the guns right to him. One man said, "Hey there, boy, did you really think we would be stupid enough to not know about that little cave there? And do you know there is still 2 minutes left? That is plenty time for us to shoot and kill you. And guess what? That is exactly what we are going to do." Dave lifted a rock, blocking his face as the men shot him several times in the chest. Dave fell down. The men walked over to watch him die. They looked down and said, "You were such an easy prey." Dave smiled up at them. The men wondered why he was smiling, after being shot several times. One man asked, "What's so funny?" Dave said, "Ever hear of bulletproof vests?" Then he pulled a rope and a trap fell over the two men. Then Dave said, "That boy you hunted down and killed a few weeks ago was my son, and I could have killed ye back then, but I wanted to hunt ye bastards when ye were hunting your prey, which unluckily for ye was me." Within seconds, Dave turned into a werewolf at midnight, which he knew he always did every single night there was a full moon, and he chose tonight to be the night he would wander down the road knowing that they would try their luck at finding prey. He prayed that they would be looking for prey tonight. As he turned into the werewolf, he released the trap and bit their leg, hand and arm off, watching them squirm in pain. Then he said, "I was your prey, but now let me pray for ye. Now I lay ye down to sleep. I pray to the devil your soul to keep. When ye should die in this place of doom, I pray the devil keeps ye a very hot room." And then, within seconds, they were dead. Who is Short Story 1? He is a horror writer who writes on horror subreddits on Reddit. His stories are vastly unique and sometimes don't even make sense. He has had a couple of popular short horror stories that was well upvoted and lots of Reddit users had commented on. Short Story hardly ever replies to comments, and one theory suggests is that he is a mental patient in an institute for the insane. Some even suggest that he has had multiple brain surgeries and was even experimented on. This would explain for Short Story 1's weird plots that don't make sense, because insane people don't make sense. Another theory is that Short Story 1 is 1,000 years old, and because he has lived a so long life, his stories are a reflection of what he has experienced throughout the ages. This would also explain why his grammar is terrible, because language has changed so much in the last 1,000 years, and Short Story 1 has failed to keep up. Another theory is that Short Story 1 is an actual alien that is just having fun with the humans on Reddit. Short Story 1 being an alien would explain so much about his writing and why it's so absurd. Maybe Short Story 1 is lost in our planet and has no idea what he is doing at all. Short story 1 is maybe an alien that has transformed into a human and is struggling dealing with the human mind and emotions. The last and most likely theory is that short story 1 is artificial intelligence robot and someone experimenting the robot by letting it write stories on Reddit and seeing humans react to it. As we know, technology is evolving so fast and robots in the future are now a strong possibility. Driverless cars have evolved so much, and Short Story 1 might be a robot that can imagine. Who do you think Short Story 1 might be? Have you read his stories?